It started with a sound no one could ignore. One of those sounds that cuts through a quiet street and changes the air around it. Jalen turned his head, and for a second, he didn't move. Nobody did. A man was on the ground. Uniform, blood on the sleeve. The street kept breathing, but the moment held its breath. Jalen stepped forward, then faster. Then he ran. No cameras were rolling yet. No one was yelling. It was just him, and a stranger in trouble. What he did next, anyone could have done, but no one else moved. And 5 minutes after that, the moment he thought would end with sirens and relief, ended with something else. Voices he didn't recognize, hands that didn't feel thankful, a question that didn't sound like concern, and metal. This story isn't about what Jalen planned to do. It's about what he didn't see coming, and how one choice, the kind of choice you're raised to be proud of, can leave you standing alone, in cuffs, on the same ground where you tried to help. Before you hear what they said to him, before you see how the world responded, you need to know what happened in those 5 minutes. Saturday. Quiet. Breezes nudging the leaves. The kind of morning when nothing feels urgent. Jalen Carter stepped outside like he always did. Light jacket, sneakers still loose at the heel. Mind somewhere between music and memory. No earbuds in. He liked hearing the world. A dog barked 2 blocks away. The hum of a distant lawnmower. A neighbor sweeping dust from the edge of her porch. He gave her a nod. She gave one back. That was their whole friendship. Morning nods and silent respect. He crossed the street, hands in his pockets. A plastic bag crinkled near the curb, carried by the wind, then gone. And then, something happened that didn't belong to the neighborhood. A noise, sharp, ragged, cut through the calm. Tires grinding against pavement. No warning. No prelude. Just a metallic scream followed by a silence that carried weight. Instinct made Jalen freeze. Up ahead, near the corner, a body fell. Hard. Someone in uniform. Blue shirt, dark pants, badge catching a sliver of sun. Collapsed like the ground had pulled him down. For one long second, no one moved. Jalen blinked. His eyes scanned the street. No one was close enough to react, but his feet were already moving. Fast. Toward the sound. Toward the man. He didn't check to see if anyone was following. He didn't shout. He didn't film. He just ran. That street had never felt longer. Each stride seemed louder than the last. Every beat in his chest pushed him closer to the unknown. There was no thought of outcome. No moment to consider how this would unfold. Only one fact mattered. Someone needed help. And when he reached the man, and saw the blood soaking into the concrete, the only thing Jalen could do was kneel. Long before that morning, Jalen Carter learned what mattered most didn't come from books. His mother didn't speak in speeches. She lived by quiet example. When neighbors needed groceries, she left extra on their steps. When a cousin lost his way, she kept a plate warm just in case he came home. They didn't own much, but their door never closed on struggle. Jalen absorbed everything. He watched her move through the world with purpose, with principle. She never said be perfect. She said be present. And Jalen listened. At school, he stayed late to help clean up after others left. During weekends, he volunteered at the rec center, organizing books no one checked out. When classmates mocked kids who dressed differently, he sat beside them at lunch. He never chased attention. Recognition didn't guide him. Doing what's right wasn't performance. It was practice. On his bedroom wall, a single page remained untouched by time. An envelope, taped to the corners. Inside, his first college acceptance letter. Criminal justice. He didn't plan to wear a robe or give a speech at graduation. He just hoped to make things better. Slowly, steadily. That's who ran toward the officer that day. Not a rebel. Not a hero. A son raised on the belief that helping someone in need isn't optional. And when his knees hit the pavement, he didn't hesitate, because hesitation was never part of how he lived. He didn't speak. Not at first. The man on the ground struggled to breathe, chest rising unevenly beneath heavy fabric. Red soaked through cotton. Too fast. Too much. Jalen pressed both palms against the wound, applying pressure like he'd once seen on a first aid poster tape near the school gym. He didn't know if it would be enough. He didn't know where the injury started, or where it would end. The officer's eyes fluttered, unfocused. One hand twitched beside his holster, fingers curling toward nothing. Jalen leaned in, whispered, "Help's coming." He didn't expect a reply. He just wanted the man to hear a voice that didn't sound like fear. Behind them, tires slowed, doors slammed shut. More people gathered, close enough to watch, far enough to stay uninvolved. Phones emerged. Recordings began, but no one stepped forward. He could feel them, staring, whispering. But he didn't turn. He stayed focused. One task, one moment, one life in front of him. Sirens crept closer. Lights danced across storefront windows, flickering red and blue like the whole block had been pulled into someone else's nightmare. Jalen didn't flinch, didn't retreat. He stayed grounded, until another sound joined the chaos. One that didn't come with comfort. A voice. Firm. Unfamiliar. And that voice didn't ask what happened. It demanded something else entirely. A second cruiser rolled to a halt. No screech. No urgency. Just precision. From behind the wheel, an officer stepped out. He didn't glance at the injured man. His eyes went straight to Jalen. No introduction. No acknowledgement. Only a question. "What are you doing?" It wasn't curiosity. It wasn't confusion. It was something else. Sharp. Directed. Jalen raised both hands, slowly. Not in surrender, but in caution. The kind taught in living rooms, not classrooms. The kind every black mother prays her son remembers. He opened his mouth, but before words came, the other man was already moving. Glances exchanged between uniforms, whispers too low to catch. A nod, then silence. Jalen remained still, one knee on the asphalt, blood drying on his jeans. He thought someone might say thank you, or even ask his name, but no one did. Instead, he was asked to step back, then to place both hands behind his waist, then to turn away from the man he had just tried to save. In that instant, nothing felt clay, only the weight of being seen, but not recognized. They didn't ask what he saw. They didn't check his pulse. They reached for his wrists. The cuffs locked with a click louder than the sirens. He didn't resist. There was no point. Around him, the sidewalk had grown crowded. Teenagers held up phones. Some whispered. Others recorded. No one interfered. A woman's voice broke through. Strained, desperate. He helped him. But it came too late. One officer held Jalen's arm. Another pulled open the back of the vehicle. He was guided toward it without explanation. His eyes scanned the faces. He searched for understanding. He found disbelief. He found confusion, but not clarity. As the door shut behind him, the windows blurred. Outside, strangers kept watching. Inside, silence wrapped around him like concrete. No one offered water. No one said how long it would take. He was just there. He had shown up for someone lying in pain. Now, he sat in a patrol car, hands bound, voice quiet, truth ignored. And in that stillness, one question began to rise, steady and sharp. Why does doing right feel like being wrong? He didn't know where they were taking him. No street names, no signs, just turns, stops, more turns. The station wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The quiet said everything. They didn't accuse him. They didn't defend him. They placed him in a room. Alone. No one explained why. No officer mentioned the man lying on the street. No statement was read. One question repeated, slowly. Who were you with? Each time, Jalen gave the same answer. Nobody. Time passed without markers. The walls had no clocks. The air had no warmth. He sat today, waited, listened to footsteps that never stopped near his door. In the lobby, his mother arrived. She brought paperwork. She brought prayers. She waited. No one updated her. No apology was offered. She paced, then sat today, then stood again. Inside, her son stayed still. Blood dried beneath his fingernails. No mirror. No reflection. Just a folding chair and shadows. 4 hours. Not a single thank you. Not a single explanation. And in that space, surrounded by nothing, Jalen wondered if helping someone meant losing yourself. In the process, a single clip began to circulate, captured by a bystander whose hands trembled with disbelief. The footage was raw, unfiltered reality. In seconds, it was everywhere. On phones, in feeds, beneath hashtags that demanded justice. Hash-free Jalen surged through screens. The video showed a boy kneeling beside a fallen man, pressing hands to the wound, trying to save. But what followed, the cuffs, the silence, was clearer than words. Reporters picked it up. News anchors repeated the story. Questions poured in from viewers hungry for truth. Voices rose online. Some demanded answers. Others doubted the narrative. Jalen watched it all unfold from behind bars, a spectator trapped in his own story. He wasn't just a name trending. He was a symbol, a reminder that sometimes the camera catches what the world refuses to see. And while screens glowed bright, the weight of waiting remained heavy. He wondered if the truth alone could set him free. The morning light crept slowly through sterile hospital blinds. Machines beeped softly in rhythm with shallow breaths. The man Jalen had aided stirred, eyes fluttering open to uncertain surroundings. Memories returned, vivid flashes of the street, sharp pain, a pair of hands pressing insistently. He recalled Jalen's face, focused, calm, offering hope amid chaos. Word traveled quickly. Staff spoke quietly but urgently. Law enforcement officials gathered, their tone shifting. The boy who had been a suspect was now a witness. More than that, a lifesaver. Statements were exchanged. Questions answered. An official declaration came. Jalen Carter's name was cleared. Freedom arrived with quiet relief, but it did not erase the hours of waiting, nor the confusion, the fear, the weight of uncertainty pressing on a young heart. He stepped out from the station's shadow, each movement slow, heavy with unspoken truths. There was no celebration, no crowd awaiting his return, just a numb stillness, an echo of what had happened and what could never be undone. His hands trembled, not from cuffs, but from knowing that the world's gratitude could sometimes be silent, or was absent entirely. Jalen returned home, but something inside felt different, fractured. He carried no medals, no praise, just the weight of a lesson etched deep beneath his skin. Kindness had come with a price, not in dollars, but in dignity stripped away without warning. He scrolled through online comments, voices clashing, opinions sparking. Some cheered, others doubted. Many remained silent, unwilling to see beyond the surface. At night, the quiet stretched longer than before. Thoughts circled, questions multiplied. Was helping worth the risk? Was goodness always met with suspicion? His mother held him close, her arms a refuge from the storm. She whispered strength into the spaces left empty by injustice. Jalen sat by his window as dawn spilled color across the sky. A new day, but the same old battles. The kind no textbook prepares you for. He wondered how many others had stood where he did, ready to act, but unsure if the world would stand with them. Because sometimes, doing what's right means walking through fire, alone. He still holds doors open for strangers, still pauses when someone drops their keys, still checks on the elderly man down the block who walks slowly but waves every morning. But now, before reaching out, he looks both ways, not for traffic, but for judgment. Jalen never abandoned compassion, but trust, that vanished quietly. He doesn't speak about the cell. He doesn't mention the stays. He simply folds his laundry, finishes his assignments, and walks with a caution that never existed before. His name was cleared. His record remained untouched. But something priceless was taken. The peace of helping without fee. He doesn't regret what he did. He doesn't wish he had walked away. But he does carry a truth that sits heavy on his shoulders. That sometimes, being brave isn't enough. Sometimes, doing good still leads to harm. And sometimes, a uniform doesn't determine the hero, but the heart behind the hands that show up, even when nobody asks them to. If this story made you feel something, hold on to that. Because Jalen Carter isn't rare. He's simply one among many whose decency was misread. We don't tell these stories for sympathy. We tell them because they matter. Because someone, somewhere, needs to know they are not alone in being misunderstood for doing what's right. If you've ever questioned your instinct to step forward, or felt punished for standing up, this space was built for you. Share this. Discuss it. Because silence protects the problem, and your voice, your choice to listen, can start something that goes further than a headline ever could. Subscribe.